Hello there and good afternoon. My name is Malcolm Sime. You're welcome to NTV at 1 as we all prepare for Budget Day, which will be tomorrow. But let's first have a look at the headlines. And talking of the budget expectations, the civil society has lauded government over achievements and they're demanding for more focus on key sectors. Also coming up this afternoon, a Chinese national facing charges of defilement and human trafficking collapses in court at the start of his trial. And from Kenya, parliamentarians settle for lower pay rise following public anger over demands for higher salaries. This is NTV at 1. Once again, you're welcome to NTV at 1. Now, as the financial year 2012 and 2013 draws to a close, civil society members are lauding government for achievements made thus far. That said, with the budget unveiling just days away, it's expected that there will be new key areas of focus, and the civil society feels that the shortfalls in the current one should still be tackled.
The budget reading draws closer. There's intense reflection across the country on both achievements and shortfalls of what is before them. And as members of the civil society acknowledge government's achievements, they offer their counsel in respect to gaps that continue to affect service delivery.
I think a number of things, I would say, were met, but also many more remain to be met. Under the education, agriculture, health, works, a number of things have not been made. We look at the agriculture sector, where we think that issues to do with institutional strengthening, the issues to do with funding to small-scale farmers.
They say that through using a different approach, the government could get a better result from the next budget.
In terms of mechanization of agriculture, it has not happened. It has been talked about for a number of years. Even last year it was talked about. If you look at what is happening in our hospitals countrywide, you find that health personnel are not there, drugs are not there. So issues to do with delivery of the health service and quality health service remain. So we still want to talk about them even this year, even I hope next year, because we think that a health population should get health care which is of high quality.
With the country looking forward to the coming budget with hope, the civil society also has great expectations.
I expect something to happen on the agriculture sector, especially targeting the small-scale farmers. I'll also be happy to hear that Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development has got an increment. Last but not least, I will be happy to hear that our government is meeting the counterpart funding on social protection program.
With several sectors in the country in need of revamping, many look to the budget for that transformation and to bring about economic growth. Ingrid Nantege, NTV.
Yes, now joining us on in the studio on that issue, we're talking about the budget, is a member of the civil society, but coming from the Uganda Debt Network, and on behalf of the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, Julius Kapwepwe, the Programs Director, Uganda Debt Network as well. Julius, welcome to NTV.
Thank you very much.
You're right on time. The budget is close, and I really expected that you would give us a heads up on that. So tell us quickly, which areas of sectors have we fallen short of delivering this time around?
Yeah, thank you. The areas where we've fallen short, of course, is also in regard to the modest achievements perhaps that have been made. But to go right to your question, we had at the beginning of the financial year 2012-13 of about 10.5 trillion shillings or so. By the end of the financial year, it will have escalated by at least an additional 600 billion in terms of overall supplementary expenditure by government. So in terms of, and the challenge with the supplementary expenditures is that increasingly then you are giving a vote of no confidence in the area planning that will have been done, because that is just simply too much. Of course, there are also areas of like roads, impressive results that have been achieved. For instance, if you looked at the Fort Potro Lamia Road, that stretch, if you looked at the Ntunga Mokabare Road and the progress that is being made within the financial year, you can see that is impressive. Of course, one of the challenges that you do not have contractors respecting the timelines that have been given. Case of the Soroti Tororo Road, case of Jinja Kamuri Road. So those are some of the shortfalls. Of course, in regard to energy, for instance, we had at the beginning a budget of over 1 trillion shillings directed into the energy sector.
Yes.
Corruption issues come in, perhaps not surprising to a number of Ugandans who have been keen in following some of these aspects. Part of it seemingly corporate corruption, but also individual corruption. Case of Karuma, the procurement process is done, but the president at a certain point is saying that I know some of my people have been involved in frustrating Karuma through getting kickbacks, but they are not apprehended. We do not see much happening. So it means that the kind of money that had been given at the beginning of this particular financial year, by the end of this year, because by December 2012, about 183 billion of over 1 trillion shillings allocated is what actually had been used. So even if we assume that in the next half another 183 is what was used, let us even be exaggerated and say about 300 billion. You can see 300 billion here versus 1 trillion allocated. Of course, part of that was also that some of the money should have gone to the oil refinery bits and those feasibility studies, and we are not doing as fast as we should have been.
The president has given his plans. He's been very clear about the pipeline and the refinery issues.
But
also, you talked about the infrastructure taking the lion's share. You took the lion's share the other time, and that you have seen progress, which is a good thing, of course. So, but what do you think government needs to do to address the shortcomings?
Government, in the first place, in the view of Uganda Debt Network and civil society budget advocacy group in general, you need to look at addressing the issue of budget performance. There is generally underperformance. We have the resources, even within our modest means, but even that little money, the little resources available are not being put to prudent utilization and, of course, full utilization. A case, look at Agago district. It's a new district. There are dire needs in terms of services and infrastructure, namely.
Okay, but I can see the story is really very long. A lot of needs, some sectors receive money, you take it back. Some sectors say we really need more. But like areas, critical areas that really need focus this time around. Is it health? Is it infrastructure? Is it education? What do you think? The
critical areas, you need to balance, to kind of strike a balance between what we call the social sectors, like education and health, but also the productive sectors of the economy, like energy and infrastructure. But also the infrastructure, for instance, should not be viewed in terms of the future generations alone. As we wait to invest for the future generation, the current generation needs to live. So that kind of balance has to be.
All right then. Yeah. So tell me tomorrow, what are your expectations of this
tomorrow? Perhaps not surprising, in our view, not surprising. We expect to see the formal sector, a very just small section of the formal sector that has for a long time been taxed, is going to be overtaxed again with new taxes on fuel and especially on transport. The easy to reach and target Juliuses of this world in the formal sector. But how about in the informal sector? There are challenges there. We do not expect that government will be coming out boldly, which we would expect.
And you want them to be addressed?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So last year was the current one was 10.1, 10.2 around there. Yeah. So do you expect this one to shoot up this time around?
It is going to shoot up, of course, at least on paper, to about 11.5 trillion. But of course, with the challenge at the end of the financial year 2013-14, we expect performance to have been about a half. You have donors who have reduced their money.
Let's hope for the best, Julius. Thank you very much for coming over, and we look forward to a much better budget this time, in your view. Julius Kapwepe from the Uganda Debt Network and is representing the Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group. This is NTV at 1. Now, moving on, the Constitutional Court has adjourned the hearing of the NRM and MP Saleh Kamba application against the 4 NRM rebel MPs the 3rd of July. And this follows the submission by the lead attorney for the NRM, John Mary Mugisha, requesting for 14 days to reply to MP Wilfred Nwagaba's affidavit. And in this affidavit, Nwagaba states that it is wrong for the Constitutional Court to proceed with the hearing before the High Court pronounces itself on their dismissal from the party. We have some pictures from court.
My Lords, the affidavit raises serious allegations which go to the root of the joint applications. So, my Lord, in the circumstances, we need more time.
If, my Lords, you agree that you will hear me today on the preliminary objections, then I have no problem. So my consent is on condition that we also be heard on the preliminary objections.
Okay, we have heard your prayer. But we give all the parties in this application 21 days from today when the hearing will after which the hearing will proceed.
I tried to show this court that actually the proceedings challenging their disciplinary action and the expulsion are in the High Court and they are pending hearing. And here they want to proceed to continue committing their illegality to undermine what the High Court would ultimately do.
If last time they were saying expeditiously, what has happened to this expeditiously? Now they have claimed a tortoise. It is the one they are using. It's very, very unfair that even the court is listening to them.
There's more time for the so-called rebel MPs to level their legal field. Now, High Court Judge Justice Benjamin Kabito has dismissed the case in which Monitor journalists sued the Attorney General. The judge urged that the matter is criminal in nature and could only be handled by the civil court. And however, the judge noted that the Monitor publications can still pursue the case. The journalists were challenging the orders issued by the Nakawa court that newspaper avails to police the original letter written by General David Sejusa and also reveals the source.
Let's forget about what
the ruling appears to have been a draw. The judge dismissed all the grounds raised by the state, but on his own motion, he looked at a certain provision of a law which was not cited and held that the 4 journalists could have proceeded under that law. But however, he held that Monitor Publications, as a company which was not a party to the proceedings, can proceed with this application. So in part, he chased away the 4 journalists, but held that Monitor Publications can appear before him and pursue the application. The substance of the application is that the 4 journalists who are employees of Monitor Publications can pursue and challenge the order through Monitor Publications, which has been allowed to continue with the application.
The Chinese national who was arrested last November for defiling 10 underage girls has collapsed at the High Court. Yang Chenjian collapsed in the dock at the start of his trial. Young is facing 5 counts of aggravated defilement and human trafficking charges. The suspect was rushed to Luzira Prison Hospital thereafter.
This man is in the hands of prison. So it is prison is pressurized. Supposed to be to headquarters, the person has got.
This is quite high, the severe hypertension, because the pressure is at 168/122 millimeters of mercury. And the pulse rate is also high, 120.
Yes.
Are you coming?
You remain.
We are going to.
Sudden loss of loss of consciousness, or whether it's fainting, linked to the lack of blood flow to the brain, and a patient, someone can just be laid flat and they will regain consciousness. Should have done that. Let's have a look at the money market. Let's now take a short break on NTV at 1. Still has more news for you, including international news and sports as well.
Game on. You ready?
All set.
Yeah! Woo! Whoa! Woohoo!
Yeah. Catch you later.
Whoa! Did you miss me?
Oh, nice one.
Play again?
On the next episode of Men with Banking Kabosi changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
This week on Men, we talk about intercultural marriages.
It's important to make considerations for your family, your culture and everything. But very, very importantly, issue is going to be in this relationship.
If you've fallen in love with somebody and it's working for you, marry them.
Do they work, or are they just a pain in the neck?
I've seen fathers and mothers saying, look, I'm not going to come to your wedding. Sometimes they don't, but you know what? After a few months, they catch up.
You could be from anywhere on the planet. And if you fit those values, then you can be my companion for life.
I don't get married for my family. I get married for me.
Join us this Wednesday at 10:30 p.m. only on NTV.
Get more on-net minutes than on any other network while using Uganda's clearest signal. Dial *134*1# to subscribe. Banking Kabosi changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. This is NTV at 1, and there appears to be firm anticipation in respect to the graduate fund, a scheme that government is proposing to enable post-tertiary students further their education. And as announced last week by the President in the State of the Nation address, experts are advising that it must be tied to those who are capable of utilizing resources and skills at their own disposal to further their personal growth and development.
Invite people to invest in themselves through skills development, and to also exploit resources around themselves so that they can reduce poverty, increase their household incomes. And MTAC is doing a job creation awareness campaign throughout the country.
We have one of the packages in the topic is money management. The issue is how to manage the little resources they have. But indeed, they need support from the government. That is my assessment.
Gradually pulled off the air just hours after government said it would pull off all government-run media houses temporarily, and of course about 2,500 workers to be laid off. And in Kenya, members of parliament have finally come to an agreement over their new salary.
The Conservative-led government said earlier that the Hellenic Broadcasting Corporation, or ERT, would reopen as soon as possible with a new, smaller workforce. This was announced as part of austerity measures demanded by country's creditors. Shortly after the unexpected announcement, thousands rushed to the headquarters of ERT in a northern Athens suburb to show their support.
The broadcasting signal of the public television and radio broadcaster is a matter of democracy. Democracy can only be taken from us. They won't achieve that. We call upon the Greek people to support the struggles of workers at ERT.
ERT today has become scandalous, and everyone could see that every day, but no one dared to touch it. This all ends today and now.
It is not immediately clear how long it will take before all stations would reopen. The Greek public has to now rely on privately owned networks for their news. Elsewhere in Kenya, parliamentarians have agreed with the Salaries and Remuneration Commission and the Parliamentary Service Commission to a gross monthly salary of $6,300, about 16 million Ugandan shillings, after a deadlock in negotiations prompted several public protests against the elected politicians. They'll also get a $59,500 car grant, over 150 million Uganda shillings, and tax-free mileage allowance, and a pension, as per a contributory scheme, which the Remuneration Committee says is dependent on availability of funds. Initially, the MPs had wanted to get about $10,000, about 26 million Uganda shillings, which drew criticism across the country.
On to sport now. The Uganda national rugby team flies out of the country to Nairobi this evening, taking on their counterparts of Kenya in the first leg of this year's Elgon competition. Uganda is defending the championship, which they won last year.
Although winning the fourth Elgon Cup for the nation will be a great achievement, beating Kenya in the first leg in Nairobi is apparently the most sought-after target, as Team Uganda leaves the country tonight for Nairobi. Uganda has won the Two Nations Rugby Championship 3 times, while the Kenyans have won it 9 times. Unlike the previous occasions when the team depended on the Ugandans living in Kenya for support, this time round, the team will travel with a batch of fans to boost their morale during the game.
Watching from the side, I'll give full support. Like a normal fan would do, I'll be up there cheering every big hit, cheering every run, and cheering my nation, Uganda, on.
Shakira Muhammad, one of the fans tagging along, believes that this time, Uganda has sent a full-strength team that will shock the Kenyans in Nairobi come Saturday.
If you see all these Ugandans that are playing for Ugandan team, they are being playing other teams. So I'm confident that we shall win this thing.
That cup is contested between rugby union teams, including Kenya and Uganda as well. And that brings NTV at 1 newscast to a close. From all the NTV News team at the back, have a great day.
TV, turning on your world.